today is my husband to help support me. Today is going to be a little bit different, a different show. Many of you know that I always have a special guest every first Friday, John Holden. And today is First Friday, and unfortunately, we received the news that Holden has passed away. And after much thought and prayer, I decided that more than just use this time to bring the best highlights together as a tribute, I have felt led to honor him and what we did by opening up the conversation of loss. This platform is such a gift. It's such a gift that God has given me, and I take it very seriously. It has always been my hope to bring joy into people's homes and impact people in a very positive way. I feel a sense of responsibility more than ever to continue to offer hope by being honest and being vulnerable. So many of us, especially with this last year, these past 12 months, have faced a lot. We have faced loss in many different forms, whether that's job, a sense of security, people, family, friends, relationships, a sense of community, a sense of belonging. And it's been a pretty isolated year. I think so difficult for many of us to navigate through. And the reality is that there are many people that are hurting, some quietly. And I've realized that people have experienced loss sooner than what they expected in some cases. And some people who are just completely fighting to stay above water. But I want you to know something today, if that's you. While the reality may be that you are struggling, that you have or that will face great loss, the other reality is that there is hope. As a believer and someone who depends on my relationship with Christ to get me through, there's a lot of truth that I like to hold on to that I think has really helped me in my struggles. And one of them is that in this life you will face trials of many kinds, but take heart because I have overcome them all. Another one, for I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. None of us have been guaranteed that we will go through life not facing trials and not facing circumstances that are just horrible. And I think that with that, though, there's still hope. And how we respond to those things matters. People matter. There are people who are hurting because they have experienced loss. In my life, I experienced pretty severe trauma. One of those traumas being the loss of my mom at a very young age to cancer. And it came with a lot of confusion. It came with a lot of emptiness. And there was a point in my life that I struggled, and I struggled big time. There were very dark moments, and I reached and I sought help. And it's okay to do that. And I want you to know that it is okay to reach. And I tell you this because I realize that there are so many people that are ashamed to be broken, to feel broken, who feel weak to have to reach and ask for help, who feel alone in their feelings. And I'm burdened by that because those are all lies. They're lies. The people like my husband who supported me through my loss, I'm not sure that I could have survived. And I believe with my whole heart, I believe that Jesus saves, and ultimately hope is found in him, but I also believe that he uses people every day to shape and to sweeten the lives of other people. We all need each other, that's for sure. And we need to be a people who care. We've been given breath and life, and it comes with a responsibility. It's not just to be self-serving, but to shine the light and to be the light to other people who are in darkness. To be the one to ask, how are you doing today? It's okay to do that. Sometimes, and myself included, I feel like we're so consumed by things that are happening to us that we forget to be aware that there is life outside of that is happening to other people. And if you are somebody who has experienced loss, I see you, and you're tuning in today because you're supposed to hear these words. You matter. And it might be hard, but you are not alone. And there are people who care. It's okay to reach. And it's also okay to live a life full of joy again. I want to thank you for supporting me through all the ups and downs. I know that life is challenging. You know, we face circumstances that are just sometimes just unwanted. And I always end the show with you are chosen regardless of the circumstances you face, and that is true. There is a God who loves you, who's unconditional, and hope can be found in him. Hope can be found in resources that are provided in friendships and in relationships. And when we come back, my husband and I are actually going to be sitting down with Serenity Behavioral. I'm so thankful that they're here. They're going to help bring awareness to loss and dealing with grief. We'll be right back.
We're all spending more.
Hey everyone, welcome back to The Dish. I'm Anna Christina, and joining me on set is my husband Ryan. We have opened up the conversation about loss, and how we deal with that is so important. And so we decided to bring on Serenity Behavioral Health Systems. Stephen and Elizabeth have joined us. They're professionals. And so we wanted to get professional help because this is a serious conversation. So many people have experienced loss in some form or fashion. These past 12 months, they've been very difficult for a lot of people. And so we want to open up that conversation to see what does grief and loss look like.
Yeah, if you will, explain to us, what grief is, and then we're going through the break, we're talking about the 5 stages of grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance.
Sure. So thanks again for having us. So with grief is such a multi-dimensional thing that we experience. It's there's somatic or physical experiences that you have with dealing with a loss, the emotional and the cognitive, the memories. There's so much to grief that it's not just one thing, and it's a lot to process. And so there are these stages that people have developed, and they're very non-linear. So if people don't go, well, I'm here and I'm in the bargaining stage, that means next is this. We're humans, and we flow. We ebb and flow through this whole thing. So when you're experiencing this certain denial, sometimes that is actually designed for you to be able to handle the momentous thing that's happening. It's your body's way of giving you time to kind of process what's happening. And so it's not denying necessarily the person's gone. It's denying that life is this now. And so you're processing that. And then when it comes to things like your anger stage, it's kind of does 2 things for you. A, we're used to dealing with anger. We're used to suppressing it. We're used to holding on to it. And so, A, it's a little bit of a familiar emotion because dealing with the pain, the depression, depression
Right.
part of it is hard.
And it's really about adapting, right? So you grow through those experiences. But one of the things that also is how can we help ourselves when we're going through this?
Well, that's an interesting concept. In general, I tell people just to be kind to themselves. We talk about not shoulding on yourself. I should have done this and I should have done that. Self-care is going to be very important. Sometimes people forget to even eat when they're in the early stages of loss. So, eating, bathing, open up a window, step outside for 5 minutes. Another thing that I like to tell my clients is you can go on YouTube and find anything and everything.
Yeah.
You
Put on
can
some music.
Yeah, music. What I like is like cats. Funny cat videos or
Yeah.
listening to little kids laugh is infectious.
Right.
You mentioned self-talk also.
Yes. I tell my clients, like, if I talk to you the way you talk to you, would we still be friends? And oftentimes the answer is no. So
Right.
that's something to be very
To be aware
cognizant
of.
of.
Absolutely. Well, you guys, thank you so much for being here. In fact, we're going to continue the conversation, so you guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more of Serenity Behavioral.
Like, I don't.
Hey everyone, welcome back to The Dish. I'm Anna Christina, and joining me is my husband, Ryan. We are continuing the conversation about how to deal with loss and grief. And joining us are Stephen and Elizabeth from Serenity Behavioral Health Systems. Thank you all so much for being with us. We just finished going over the 5 stages of loss and grief. And I know that you had a question.
Yeah, we're having a
for them.
great conversation during the breaks here.
Yeah.
Talk to us about, people who they need to feel. They need to go through the grieving process, and they need to allow themselves to feel.
Right. It's very important, and Liz kind of works with, when she works with her clients in the groups, we talk about being kind to yourself and not holding back on those emotions. You're supposed to feel what you're supposed to feel when you're supposed to feel them.
Right.
And so it can come at different waves. It can ambush you at times. And being prepared for that ambush is also helpful.
Right.
Knowing that this could happen again. I can feel this feeling, and what am I going to do with that feeling?
How do I
And how do I
respond?
respond to it? Exactly right.
It's also important that if you do feel that ambush of grief, to know that you haven't necessarily taken a step back. It's just an honest thing that happens to all of us.
Right. And sometimes people are afraid to feel those things. They feel bad for feeling bad. They feel bad for feeling good, a joy again. But all of those are part of the process and adapting to it.
Exactly right. It's about how do we adapt from the physical loss that we just experienced and kind of developing it into a memorial or a feeling and a new storyline for our lives.
So what do we as friends or loved ones, how do we act, or take action with somebody that we know that is really grieving? What steps, or what do we do?
First of all, don't compare your grief. Everybody goes through the grief process differently. It's very individual. Stay away from I know how you feel and trying to fix it because there is no fixing it. This is something that everybody has to go through.
Right.
Just be there. Give a hug or sit for 5 minutes and let the person be angry if they need to be angry. Let the person be happy or sad, whatever the emotion is for the moment.
Don't necessarily try to coach them through the process.
Right. And stopping it.
Right.
We do this thing where you'll set tissues if you're having a conversation and it's going to be difficult. I don't hand you a tissue because that signifies I want you to stop crying, stop feeling. I let you have access to the tissue so that you're ready to address that and stop. That's on your terms. That's your time to decide that.
Well, and if somebody does, they're sitting at home, they know somebody that's grieving, or they're going through loss themselves, how can they get help?
So obviously reach out, family, friends, clergy. There's a lot of folks out there in this world that can be a lending ear. And I think that's the most important thing is to talk about it when you're ready to talk about it. And always, if you have concerns or questions, feel free to come and see us. Do not let money stop you from coming to Serenity.
What is your information so that
So
they can reach out?
please, our main clinic number is 706-432-4800. We have a website, serenitybhs.com, where you can kind of get an idea of some of the things we offer. We offer more than just therapy.
Right.
A lot of different things that we can do.
Well, we appreciate you guys so much. We know it's a tough conversation to have, but one that we need to have because so many of us have experienced loss these past 12 months. So thank you again for being here. Ryan, thank you so much for being here and supporting me through this. But you guys don't go anywhere. When we come back, we're actually highlighting our Community Connection champion. We'll be right back.
I got hurt in a car 6 on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Hey everyone, welcome back to The Dish. I'm Anna Christina. It's time to highlight our Community Connection champion. What we like to do is highlight people doing wonderful things in and for our community, and one of them here is Katie Cook. She is with the Burn Foundation, and I'm just so thankful for you, Katie, for your strength and for your vulnerability, because it's really changed people's life. You're impacting people in a great way. And I want to give people the opportunity to hear your story. You are an ambassador for the Burn Foundation, but you've also been somebody who's used the resources in the past. Tell me about your story.
Well, thank you for having me. And May 16th, 2014, my entire life changed. I was a victim of domestic violence. Gasoline was ignited on me, and I ended up with third-degree burns on 75% of my body. I spent 7 months at JMS, 4 in a medically induced coma. And when I woke up, I was very disoriented, and my parents were there. And we're from Minnesota, and the reason that they were there was because of the Burn Foundation and the Chavis House.
Well, tell me about that, because you mentioned the Chavis House, and you mentioned that your parents were here and they had the ability to be here. Tell me about those resources that people have with the Burn Foundation.
Well, we have the lodging, which is the Chavis House. It's just steps away from the hospital, and the patient's families stay at no cost. There's a kitchen, laundry room. It's, a place where they can regroup and find comfort in each other. And then we help with the patient's anti-scarring garments, medication, transportation to and from follow-up appointments.
And obviously you experienced this personally. This is something that you're so thankful for. And so if people are in need, if they have any questions about the foundation itself, how can people get information?
Going to our website or social media profiles, Facebook, Instagram.
Okay, and honestly, thank you so much. I know that it was tough going through this situation. I can't imagine, and the fact that you are willing to share that story, I know is going to touch people's lives, because you're here, and I know that you're fighting through that every single day. And so we just thank you for being vulnerable and sharing that. But you guys don't go anywhere. When we come back, I'm going to give Katie an opportunity to share her message of hope with everyone. We'll be right back.
Or online at tilecenter.com, your tile and stone experts.
Do you know someone or something you'd like to see featured on The Dish? Go to thedishon6.com to submit your information by clicking on the Community Connection button. Also, tune in every Friday at 12:30 for The Dish on all things local on WJBF News Channel 6.
Hey everyone, welcome back to The Dish. We are highlighting our Community Connection champion, Katie Cook. She is with the Burn Foundation of America. She's an ambassador for them. Katie, thank you so much for being here and for being willing to share your story. I know it's something that's very personal, but you are impacting people by being a voice. And so one of the other things that we talked about is the new addition to Doctor's Hospital. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, we lovingly refer to it as the Fred. It's 20 more ICU beds, and that'll increase the traffic through the Chavis House as well.
Yeah, and so obviously with the Burn Foundation, there's resources that can be provided if you find yourself in a situation. The information will be on the screen, but one of the things I like to do is offer our Community Connection champion to share a message of hope. What would yours be?
Family is powerful medicine. I really would not be here if my parents weren't able to stand next to me.
So lean on friends and family.
Yes.
It does really make all the difference. My husband was here with me earlier, helping me walk through the conversation of loss. And I know Dr. Mullins was somebody who
Yes.
was very special to you. He was one of your surgeons. And so thank you again for sharing your story. And to say thank you, we actually want to offer you a $100 gift card to Malcolm Cunningham.
Oh.
I know if you're getting around and as an ambassador and you're speaking, that'll be some good gas money. Plus, you get some complimentary oil changes for your car. But again, we appreciate everything that you're doing. And we also want to celebrate our birthday winner. If you wouldn't mind doing the honors of choosing our birthday winner for this month. Who's that?
We have Anissa Brown.
Anissa Brown, happy birthday to you. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And again, thank you for being here. If you need any information about the Burn Foundation, you can go to the number on the screen. We appreciate all that you're doing. All right, guys, that's it for this week. Don't forget, you are chosen regardless of the circumstances you're facing right now. We'll see you next time.
You can waste hours surfing the web.
Celebrating a birthday this month? Let us know by submitting on thedishon6.com. Follow Anna Christina and The Dish on 6 on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.